Welcome to another episode of Q's series, where I, as a reader with both 𝗖𝘀𝗵𝗔𝗽 and busted energy, inquire, infer, just talk about what Q, the symbolism of Q, could bring to the conversation topic within a reading. You may feel compelled to check out other episodes that I have already displayed out for everyone. This is the 7th episode, so there's some content there available for you should you feel that you want to watch other of the videos. Q is a topic that you may or may not have heard of. It is essentially, for lack of a better word, a conspiracy theory. I am someone who I guess would meet the label of being a conspiracy theorist. I'm not here to make anyone that listens to this reading my friend in that aspect. We're not here to persuade each other of our beliefs, but more so just listen out to a perspective. And, if it resonates, it resonates. If it does, past, present, or future energies could come forth within a reading, okay? Q is a symbolism that I find very remarkable, just for the fact that it's such a controversial topic. The more you study Q, the more you realize it covers many points, many aspects, many topics, and has a movement behind it that I don't, on a private level, also don't necessarily agree with. However, on the private level where I am interested in what it brings to the conversation at hand, I have gained an understanding that it comes with a version of having bypassed the Great Awakening map. And I mention that from time to time within these readings, and it prevents you not being able to dance with cognitive dissonance for too long until the information that is representing itself throughout this Great Awakening map becomes such tiers of conversation again at the table that the facts, data, whether they're right or wrong, whether they're facts or fiction, are all part of a conversation. And the fact that they are part an identifying asset to the conversation makes them very much fucking real. It does not mean that they necessarily, the depiction that the mainstream media understands or mainstream folk understand about the Great Awakening map, I don't agree with. So I've mentioned before in my readings that I have been working diligently with both of my higher selves, that I took it in my personal interests to study this map and see the potential where it could be wrong. Also, having met other people that already have brought caution to the wind that they had personal objections about the map. So when I hear objections in life, I see them as offering us an opportunity to meet a face of our resistance. And I fucking love resistance. And I meet more than 90% of the people amongst that I walk with, or walk to, or walk away from. They're afraid of looking at resistance. And I don't understand why. Because if you don't live with it, you're forced to challenge yourself in accepting change all the time. With resistance, you play along with the change. In playing along, you can handle so much more what it brings. So that's why I ultimately enjoy the conversation of reading for Q energy, because it brought and brings so many conversations to the table, and it just started out with a symbol. With that being said, let's go into the reading. If you see yourself wanting to book a reading of any kind, wanting to have a personal one or seen what I have to offer, I do have a tarot menu service that lists some of the services that I have available for you, as well as a separate Patreon page that you have access to in wanting remote healing sessions. If neither are something that you would like, but you're interested in working in some way or another with me, feel free in utilizing the email address listed below, because I'm not exclusive to the readings, to the listings below. So again, email address to reach out, all right? Okay, I do have a sister channel for this channel. It is Busted Energy, as already mentioned. So if you see yourself wanting to check out some content over there, I look forward to not only seeing you subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, and also to the other one. Q is said to be an anonymous source, all right? But such a prevalent power. In the darkness, it was able to illuminate light for individuals who understood that the more they were intrigued with the findings or the adventure that Q brought them on, that they had a chance to dance with a self, with a version of inner self, that they just had a relief of some kind. And that relief may have offered in presenting itself in being able to finally feel not lost. Finally feel that the things that you felt were ultimately wrong, or just felt off with humanity or the system, or with friends, with family, because that's where it starts, or the environment that you grew up in, or you were thrown in, the system that you may have been thrown in. If that was all fair, if that was really divine's work, is that God's work, however God is in your life or not? And I'm also addressing atheists here when I'm saying this, because I grew up amongst them in my private life. So I understand in my upbringing what it's like to not dance with any belief and make something out of this life make sense, and getting away with not calling it a belief. Imagine that. Imagine there are souls who felt that they were so lost, but they had such a zest for living, but they couldn't understand wherever they brought their zest for living, they felt the damnness of the bullshit from life and the people amongst with it that come, or the betrayal that people do or offer for other people, and it just being an overall shit show. And in and of itself, that shit show doesn't prove that there can be stability, because with the moment you see chaos, you understand it's not harmony. So at some point, some of us were individuals who are like, all right, I don't know what that is, but I don't want to be that. I don't want to be part of that. I don't know what you're trying to force me to feel that I should feel, but I don't want to feel it. There's a narrative that we have dancing in the flesh that we own. And then there's a narrative that happens in the what yet you see when you go out and step outside in the world, or you open your eyes and there's more than anyone but you in the room. There's two different narratives. One's a bit louder. the one that's externally when you open your eyes. The world didn't make it always that fair for everyone to chisel at the fact that inner dwellings is exactly all the dwellings that we should be residing in, swimming in with comfort and protecting the shit out of it. The inner dwellings. And if we don't feel that we are there, that we go somewhere where we feel safe enough to become who we are or to be who we are. Either way, to be. Q challenges the idea with bringing so much controversial topic and the anonymity that it brings along with it. Because the challenge was to have you, the one bearer of the news, be challenged with a perspective other than your own, and that perspective maintaining hundreds of topics. Q is said to work with high military intelligence. That means that the conspiracies that were tied to the longevities of what topics you may know, that go back to various degrees of CIA, mafia, cartel, you name it, it's there. That all gets covered under that light of Q. The dots become connected from a long time when to a long time coming. Because a long time when was a problem for a long fucking time. But in came Q and said, oh, we, if you remember what that means collectively in knowing who you are, already have won. Because we will not let darkness swallow light and force light to become darkness. Because for that it cannot happen. But to understand how powerful humanity can be, by not making selective people become powerful, we have to test the limits of humans' consciousness and their drive to figure out whether or not they take their life very seriously. And the people that share the earth along with them just as much. Q brings them all together. Not from sea to shining sea. But what's on earth vibration. From continent to continent. There is no hiding from this energy. There is no getting away from the impossibilities of stretching your mind of, could it be even possibly fucking true? Being so challenged with your own cognitive dissonance that you are forced to learn an identity. That identity has always, should always, emanate from within you. And when in life you do not get it externally, then you fight in the fairness of light, in the fairness of eternity, in the fairness of love, and the removing of hatred, not the killing. You can remove your pain. You can remove the things that you thought you need to hold on to. There are people who have lost their memory. Does that mean they have no form of identity any longer? Consider yourself saved that you have not lost your memory. Consider yourself gaining an opportunity to create a beautiful remembrance. Because the more you remember, the more you'll learn that you may not actually enjoy memories, even if they are good or bad. The fact is, memories are vague. remembrances are pretty damn near secure. There are those who remember. They don't know why. They don't need to know why. They just do. And finally, what they remember is the loudest siren shining on earth vibration. And not everyone has the honor to hear these beautiful sirens, because it is a hierarchy that should be attuned for those who have the honor to walk with it, amongst it, and fight for it, starting with the individual that looks back to them in the mirror, because that's just how personal you can be a warrior and fight. You don't have to agree with every topic that it brings. You don't have to go to any mass gatherings to make a movement. Fix thyself, and you will have fixed the connection of where you came from. Don't follow the map to gain a sense of knowing for self. Follow yourself, and the things on the map will make sense. And when you find things that don't make sense, then consider them wrong for a moment. Then go back to what you feel is right. Dance in a knowing that everything has already been taken care of. But these are just for your personal gain, to give you a safe journey to what is to come. Full disclosure. Full opportunity to dance in your power, to authenticate yourself, and live in that expression, to fight for that expression. To fight is not to fight is not to kill. To fight is to stand strong. The ego sees the map. The ego forces itself to understand conspiracy theorists, whether you agree or don't agree. The ego also forces you to have some sort of conversation, whether you're political or not, whether you are of a right agenda, left agenda, middle agenda. Where do you stand? But the more you deep dive and become your own diver of self, you realize you need no labels. These labels are for other. I've mentioned that the map is wrong, and that there are other people who feel the same way, based on what they remember, and just not going to the highest hierarchy of universal life force that is around. That is not, well, it's more so galactic light. And not everything on that map is of galactic light. That is considered the light of all. You're being forced to identify whether or not you have a relationship with the mysteries of life. Do you just love yourself for the fact that life is, you wake up, you live your life from beginning to end, and you go to sleep? And then you wake up and you repeat. That tonality of that life, whatever brings in that day, and what may or may not carry forth in the next day, is that the life that you find not only brings you the joys of living it, but also breathing it and wanting to return to it over and over and over again. If for any of those questions there was a no, it is because you remember that part of you isn't meant to be on a routine, but is meant to be free. And in the act of freeness comes sovereignty, and sovereignty gives you a sacred routine of self. Full disclosure is in the center of the map in the regards of knowing that humanity is forced, whether it's in your generation or the one that's coming after, or the one that's coming after that, will know in your bloodline all the information that is depicted on this quote-unquote map. No matter what, someone within the structure eventually, in the DNA light code of the one that you emanate, the one that you may or may not have procreated, will dance inevitably. Right now, you might be dancing inevitably in the shadows of what is to come, because the light that's taking away to bring real light of love, of knowing back from whence it once came a long fucking time ago, has won to the point where it will remove the artificial light that we once called the light. That trajectory, majority are still dancing in the shadows of the artificial light. Hence why taking any topic that might be conspiracy related or any other conspiracy theory related might prove you in that moment that you're experiencing cognitive dissonance to the point where you won't even accept the words cognitive dissonance is something that you were putting into practice at that very moment. You stand in your own way. While you stand in your own way, you're in somebody else's way. Anyone on a sovereign journey will get the fuck out of people's way and will ask anyone to be on their lane that wants to bypass on their lane, make a detour using their lane, want to get from point A to point B, but your lane goes in between, acts not only kindly while they're in your lane, but respects you, sees you, hears you, because they are asking for something of you, because now they're in your lane. Full conviction of self, full knowing of self, will allow you to dance with your own battles, whether or not you're practicing cognitive dissonance or not. Q is a movement of pressure that comes with giving you disclosure of bullshit that was plausibly true, that could stand in the way as to why there have been a sea of people amongst these fucking generations of time, from continent to continent, from culture to culture, that have been crying out in the name of Source to please put an end to the misery of pain. There are too many topics on a collective worldly, quote-unquote, worldly problem here. For those of you conspiracy theorists, pay attention to the word world, because world supposedly is not this. Right? Makes sense if you think about earth vibration needing to be very linearly, but whatever. There's a world outside of this world that you see that's just 3D. There are prophets walking amongst you who understand that there's a dialogue that needs to start happening, to understand that there are multiple energies beyond this 3D that control the safety of the 3D to dance in the dance that it's doing right now. Relationships. I'm attracted to those people who serve my higher good. If you pay attention to the symbolism that's on that card, that it's in and of itself is a conspiracy theory because it's the flower, the lotus flower, right? No, the flower of life. Many people love it. It has beautiful energy, capable in and of itself. It attracts beautiful. It creates more or less beautiful. But when you dance with galactic light, you understand that there is a stoppage in the energy of this flower of life. There's an anchoring. Nothing in eternal energy ever anchors itself. You may be compelled with Q to look at your relationships and ponder why they exist. How could they maintain itself? What do they mean? To understand how could they be changed if you feel the need that they are being changed. Is to navigate in getting closer in identity with who you are. Who you are will make no room with who you are not, because you're too busy venturing down the road of who you are. And you'll automatically feel more authenticated in being able to live in that purity, even if it comes with several objections. Because they're easy to get anyway. There are more objections in life. All right, this is the end of your reading. Again, I ask that if you would like to book a personal reading of any kind or wanting to have a healing session, utilize the email address to get in touch with me and we'll take it from there. If you see yourself wanting to be interested in a sister channel for 𝗖𝘀𝗵𝗔𝗽, the link can be found below, and I look forward into seeing you subscribe to both channels if you haven't done so already. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space. And may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.